Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Travel Antonio. So, at the age of 19 is when I started my overseas journey. I moved to Japan. I was excited. I actually didn't even intentionally want to move to Japan. I put it on my dream sheet, just put something down, and I got the base. So, stationed Japan, and that's where I realized that being dark skinned overseas isn't always a good thing. People see you as an African scammer or something just because they may have had some negative interactions with those people in their country. They associate you with them and they put you in a bad category. Japan is a very conservative society, so living there and being told I wasn't allowed to go into certain clubs because I wasn't Japanese, not just because I was dark skinned, but because I wasn't Japanese. In restaurants, you get the same thing globally as a black person, where they usually don't see black people. People stare at you like, what is this doing here? Why is this black or dark skinned person here in this establishment full of people with money? They start wondering. So you get all eyes on you at establishments, and it's a little annoying. I realized that the best place for dark skinned people, I could even say black people overall, is Africa. It's where we originate from. Now, the problem is culturally. We don't have the same culture. You have to assimilate to their culture. You're moving to their country, so you have to assimilate to their culture. But that's fine. It's all a part of learning and growing, learning something new, becoming a better person, learning on what keeps a society afloat as far as conservative family values. I'm also not gonna lie, I was a part of the mind control audience that thought Africa was a terrible place. I had zero intentions on ever returning to Africa as a black person. Africa wasn't even on my radar at all, and I'm just being honest here. On my nomadic radar, Africa wasn't even a part of my catalog of places I was going to try. I mean, could you blame me? Ever since I was a child, the depictions of Africa were always destitute, destroyed, war torn, just a lot of false rhetoric. After returning to Africa, I noticed that Europe did everything in their power to keep black Americans from coming to Africa. Because in England, they preach Africa as a place that is great to invest, start your businesses, buy land, whatever. Africa is up and coming. That's what they say in Europe, but in America, they tell us something totally different. And I think that's to keep black Americans from returning to the motherland. Just look at the numbers. Black Americans are huge consumers. They need our money in America to stay afloat. They say things like, oh, go back to Africa. We don't need you guys here. Go back to Africa. But that's not true. They don't want us to come back here because we'll see how beautiful and amazing it is. At the end of the day, I do not feel like a dark person or a black person. I just feel like another person at home in a place I belong, where everyone looks similar. We're the same skin color. I'm not saying in Latin America or Asia they're chasing you with pitchforks, but those are very colorist societies where if you're darker skinned, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. I don't like those places. I don't belong in those dynamics. Skin color has nothing to do with the person's success or standings in life. Places that have that system, I want nothing to do with. And that's just me personally. Maybe I'm biased because I'm dark skinned and it affects me personally. So I don't agree with it. I grew up in the 90s. Even in America, being dark skinned wasn't cool. You would get hit with terms like African booty scratcher, tar baby, tar bubble, all types of derogatory terms to talk about your skin. Now, if you read the Willie Lynch letter, you see how he says that the white man doesn't have to do anything. Black people would divide themselves. For those of you that haven't, read The Making of a Slave. Just read it a few times and then look at how America is today and how it was before in the past, and it makes a lot of sense. They called all this stuff out. They knew this was going to happen. People were going to have these kind of issues. It's like we're constantly going against each other in America. That's why it's not for me. I want to live with my people in peace. I love being black. I have no self-hate. What led me to Africa wasn't just women, it was society and cultural values. Love. That is what brought me to Africa.